Two men were dying of thirst, standing at the same well. One panicked and lost everything. The other stayed still and survived. This isn't just an ancient story. This is exactly what happens in your mind when life pushes you to the edge. And what happened next reveals the one habit most people ignore until it's too late. Today, we decode the forgotten ancient habit that separates those who break under pressure from those who master it. Because when pressure hits, you don't rise to your potential. You fall to your habits. And for most people, those habits are built on fear, not control. The first was Ezra, once the wealthiest caravan merchant from the spice markets of Damascus. His fortune had vanished like morning mist when desert raiders slaughtered his last caravan in the dead of night. Now he walked alone, his fine robes torn to rags, filled with a rage that burned hotter than the sands beneath his blistered feet. Every mirage mocked his shattered pride. Every scorpion's sting felt like fate's cruel laughter. The second was Caleb, a young temple scribe from the shadowed valleys of Jerusalem. His only brother, a boy of tender years, had withered away from unrelenting fever just weeks before. Caleb journeyed to the distant mountain shrine, no longer demanding reasons from the heavens, but to peacefully lay his brother's memory to rest. He had already fought his bitter war with grief and won his stillness. Grief wrapped his heart like thorns, yet something about Caleb felt ancient, rooted. His eyes held the quiet strength of cedars that withstand centuries of storms. But here's what most people don't realize. Both men were about to face the exact same test. Not a test of strength, not a test of luck, but a test of control. The one thing people lose first when everything starts falling apart. Ezra reached the well first, his cracked lips trembling. The wooden bucket hung tantalizingly low, revealing only a few precious inches of murky water when he yanked the rope. I did everything right. I planned every route. Why is this happening to me? I gave my life to building my legacy, and this is my reward? In his desperation, he pulled harder. The rope caught on a jagged stone. He wrenched violently. The bucket tipped. Precious water splashed across the scorching sand, gone forever. And in that single moment, panic took more from him than the desert ever could. Because panic doesn't just react to reality, it distorts it, turning small mistakes into irreversible losses. Ezra collapsed against the weathered stones, his voice breaking into curses against merchants, gods, and fate itself. His hands shook uncontrollably. His throat burned, his mind fractured into chaos. Caleb watched silently. Then he knelt, breathed slowly. 3 deep, deliberate breaths. He wrapped the rope with linen. Steady hands. No panic. No wasted movement. Because he understood something Ezra didn't, yet. That survival is rarely about what you have, but about how you respond when what you have is almost gone. Here is the bitter truth about survival, whether in a wasteland or in your career. The obstacle isn't the empty well. The obstacle is the mind. Ezra glared through sweat-stung eyes. You're awfully calm for a dead man walking, Caleb replied softly. Panic only wastes what's already slipping away. Ezra barked a bitter laugh. He lunged again. More water lost. And this is where most people destroy their own chances, right when they need clarity the most. They don't fail because the situation is impossible. They fail because their mind becomes uncontrollable. Caleb waited patiently until Ezra collapsed in exhaustion. Then he lifted the bucket carefully, divided the remaining water, silently offered it. Ezra drank, and for the first time, tasted shame. As the sun dipped low, Caleb finally spoke. "Once, I was exactly like you." He spoke of drought, rage, loss, his brother. Then he paused. "I realized something. Panic doesn't just fail you. It destroys what could have saved you. It blinds you to solutions. It rushes your decisions. It makes you trade long-term survival for short-term emotional relief." Ezra froze. Memories surged. Lost deals, broken trust, bad decisions. Not because of fate, but because of panic. The well wasn't just empty, it was exposing him. Exposing the truth he had avoided his entire life. That his greatest enemy was never the desert, but his own reactions. From the horizon came the faint ringing of bells. A caravan, salvation. But time was running out. Ezra stood up, ready to sprint blindly. Caleb stopped him. "Wait, see clearly." He pointed to carvings etched into the well's ancient stones, guides left by those who survived before them. Ezra had missed them because he was too consumed by panic. And this is the difference. Panic looks everywhere except where the answer actually is. Calm slows you down just enough to see what panic completely hides. Together they walked, not rushed, not blind. They followed the signs toward survival. When they reached the caravan, Ezra collapsed, drinking deeply. But the real lesson stayed with him forever. The desert didn't care about my anger. The world doesn't respond to noise. It reveals paths to those who are still enough to see them. Ezra never rebuilt his empire, but he rebuilt something more valuable, his mind. And that changed everything. You face deserts too. Deadlines, loss, pressure. Next time life pushes you to the edge, don't react, don't rush, don't panic. Because the moment you lose control might be the moment you lose everything. And the harsh truth is this: life rarely gives second chances to those who panic the first time. Instead, read the signs, stay still, see clearly. If you've ever let panic control your decisions, type "still" below. Because awareness is where it begins, but control is what changes everything. Subscribe for more stories that reveal what most people learn too late. Your calm mind might be your greatest advantage.